Oh, gosh.
I'm so glad you started saying that.
Gosh.
It's a me thing.
It is a you thing.
Gosh. Bless you. Bless you.
Next we have... It's been a very busy year professionally for me, but I will say that I've also had a lot of opportunity to advance career-wise.
This is like a once in 100 year thing, literally once in 100 year thing for your profession.
I'm an infectious diseases clinical pharmacist, so this is essentially...
It means she's super smart.
Supposedly what I trained for, but no one told me to be prepared for a pandemic. This year has been quite busy professionally, but it also has been very rewarding. Spent long hours and everything else, but I've also had the opportunity to be part of a lot of presentations, CEs, won a few awards. And then something else that came out was like the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee from one of the professional organizations I'm part of. So I was able to join or be included in that, which I'm very excited about because that's been helpful for our department.
So earlier we talked about, time with each other.
Yeah.
Being a good part of, trying to get something good out of 2020. And also along with the time with each other is time with the pups. And for me, especially HW. So I've had HW, he's 13. It's almost been 13 years since I got him. So he's been with me. We've, a lot of places, been through a lot together. He's my little buddy. But over the past couple of years, he started experiencing a lot of trouble just with old age. He has a degenerative myelopathy, which is basically his nerves are just giving out. He can't walk on his own. He doesn't have a whole lot of strength. He's lost a ton of weight, but he still eats like crazy and is still mentally very much there. I mean, of course, he sleeps a lot. He's lost his hearing for the most part, but he can still see. But it's been tough, but it's been great to be able to spend time with him. If it had been 2020 has been where he's really kind of declined significantly. Like you could see there's like points, like just one morning you wake up and it's a significant decline. And that's what the vet said could happen with this. And being able to be at home with him, not just, I was working from home before that, but being able to be home more. And I hate that all these trips were canceled, but I don't know what I would have done with him if we'd have gone on these trips. Previously, when I would go on a trip, my parents would take care of him. She's taken care of him a few times when I've gone on work trips. It's tough for me to walk him. Like, it really does a number on my back. I have 2 harnesses that I have to hold him up with and kind of marionette him around in order for him to move. I had a wheelchair for him that he didn't use a whole lot, but he can't even use that now. His front legs aren't strong enough to be able to do it. So I don't know what I would have done for these trips for him to be cared for. I know that work trips, she would have taken care of him, would have done a great job, but the trips that like Peru that we'd have gone to, or some of the weddings that we were planning to go to, and it's been good to be able to have that extra time with him for me and to have her around to be able to spend more time with him as well, because don't hate to think about it, but don't know how much time he has left, and know it is limited for everybody, but for him at this point where he's at. And so it's been good to be able to have that. And then Finley, I think he's gotten even more used to me and to HW. And that's good that, he lets me do more with him to take care of him. And there's kind of less anxiety, I think, for her that something's going to happen. But he's, not only gotten, better with me, but better with HW and very tolerant of HW. And in some cases, even a little protective of HW. And learning to play and all that kind of stuff, and so it's been good.
I think both of them have learned to be around each other, but like I've just been also thankful for me to have that time with H whenever I am home, and then for Finn to have that time with Brad, because it takes Finn a long time to get used to people or used to something. We just need to give him time, and I think that's what he really needed, and he's just been Now I feel like he kind of goes for Brad more than he goes for me.
I feed him most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's why.
So, one of course, the downsides to 2020, as has been for a lot of people, is we had trips canceled, plans canceled. We had a few weddings that we were supposed to be going to in different places. Of course, work trips, conferences, all that kind of stuff that we normally would do was canceled. And then for us, we had one big one. So I'm really big on traveling.
Mhm.
It's something that I really enjoy and think it's important to make the time for. We were going to be doing one of my bucket list trips. We were going to Peru, and we were going to hike the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. I was going to get to eat some guinea pigs on the street corner. 2020 had other plans for us.
Yep.
And we weren't able to do that. So that was, of course, a disappointment. Again, on the list of things that are really important in life and what have happened to so many people in 2020, it's way down there.
Then we tried to do a socially distanced weekend in September, I think.
Yeah, Labor Day.
Yeah, over Labor Day weekend. So I needed to get away. So we ended up renting a cabin in the mountains.
In North Carolina.
And
5.5 hour drive.
And then we got there, and it was a giant disaster. The outside looked so beautiful.
The outside looked beautiful. The pictures of the inside looked beautiful. And it really was a cool, kind of unique cabin.
Yeah.
Everything looked good. But then once we got there, we started finding it was dirty. It just hadn't been cleaned properly. There was a bucket of dirty mop water.
It was so bad. It was. Ugh.
Yeah, there was food all over the utensils.
Lettuce
stuck places, cheese stuck places.
The microwave was missing a plate
for rotating.
Oh my God.
And it was also super dirty in there.
The coffee pot, you were looking at the coffee pot.
There were grounds in the coffee pot. It wasn't cleaned out.
Or gnats.
Gnats. Oh, I opened up the coffee pot
Everywhere.
and gnats came flying out. I understand that like here in Charleston, we see palmetto bugs is what we call them here just because it's nicer than saying cockroach, but they're cockroaches. Mm-hmm. They get everywhere. You can go into the cleanest of clean places and it's impossible to completely get rid of all the insects. So I get that that's the case in a lot of places. You're going to have some of that, but this was excessive, like an excessive amount of gnats.
Yeah.
Just because things hadn't been cleaned.
It was.
So we tried to clean up as best we could a little bit, and then we just got to the point where we're like, no, we can't do it. But it was late because we had driven 5 hours.
7:30.
It was dark.
8.
Yeah, it was after 8 o'clock. It was dark. And you have these windy roads to get out. It just didn't feel safe leaving, but we left the next day.
Very early in the morning.
Very early in the morning. I had actually talked with the owner, not the rental company that rented it out, but the owner, and he met us and paid it. Completely refunded our money in cash, and then we drove the 5.5 hours back.
Right
so
back,
it was trying to get away and be, kind of relaxed and not stressful, and it turned into completely the opposite. So just par for the course in 2020.
Yeah. Instead, we just did a staycation because we had already taken days off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the last road trip we took. We've been to Atlanta for wedding planning stuff. But other than that, haven't really gone anywhere.
Nope.
Wedding planning.
We've been lucky again. We've had several friends who have had to completely cancel weddings or completely change weddings that were planned. Everything they've had to uproot, and just it's been difficult for them.
Planning it during this time is also very difficult. We found our venue via FaceTime. We are planning with contingencies, but that's not what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, because we are, it's almost January. The wedding is supposed to be in March.
Yeah.
And we still really don't know.
Yeah.
We're planning the best we can. We've already reduced the guest list. We're going to try to stream it for some people who will, can't come, won't come, or we're not going to invite to the actual wedding just because we have to keep things as small as we can. So yeah.
It's been a
different struggle.
Yeah, because I just feel like we're in limbo all the time. everyone's like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, like, guess what? It's not fine. And I feel like, and Brad and I had this conversation in September, nothing has changed from September. We're still in the same boat. So essentially, the decision has fallen on us to be smart about our family and loved ones and what we would want.
Where we live doesn't help. So we live in Charleston, South Carolina. The South Carolina is the important part, and the doesn't help. South Carolina is an extremely conservative state with an extremely conservative governor who has handled things in a way that we don't agree with. I would say that science doesn't agree with. And he's not done things that should be done. And things are getting, like they are a lot of places, things are getting worse in the state. Like she said, that puts a lot of it on us when the powers that be are not implementing the rules that really need to be in place for public safety in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We then have to take that upon ourselves to try to keep people as safe as possible, because it's, at the end of the day, yes, it's everyone's decision. But if someone were to come to our wedding, and whether at the wedding or in the process of coming or going from the wedding, somebody gets COVID, somebody gets really sick, we're going to feel awful.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very clear with all of our family and all of our friends. If you don't feel comfortable coming, don't come.
Yeah.
We have reduced the guest list. We're going to have people spaced out. We're going to do things. At this point, again, we don't know what we're really going to do because it keeps changing. But right now, we're going to do things, planning to do things as safely as we can. Part of the reason is because there hasn't been any mandates from the state or the county that prevent it from happening. Of course, our vendors are not going to give refunds. We're kind of been stuck with all of that. And like she said, it's a business. We get it. They're have suffered a lot this year.
For sure.
Wedding related industry has suffered a lot this year because of everything that's happened. So they have to kind of hang on to what they can hang on to. And we get that. Doesn't suck any less for us,
right? Yeah.
to have that happen. So we have to do the best we can. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Holidays. Definitely acknowledging that people could not spend it with their loved ones, whether of travel, of COVID related health issues, or everything else. So we definitely understand we're not the only ones, but we did most of our holidays by ourselves, just to be safe for our family and for ourselves. So yeah, we just had a really, quiet Christmas. Yeah, that was also Thanksgiving was similar as well. So we really hope that we can.
I made turkey for the first time.
Brad cooked.
So I cooked almost all of Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, you did.
Turkey, I did it in a crock pot. It turned out pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Mac and cheese, baked beans, mashed potatoes, stuffing. She made jalapeno cornbread. And then Christmas, I did ham. It's my grandmother's recipe for ham. I did that in the crock pot as well. And I did mac and cheese, which I improved upon, I think, from last time. Mm-hmm. It was good. She did the stuffing this time.
The stuffing, and then
we made cookies.
Yeah.
Funfetti cookies. Which, if you're watching, the Funfetti cookies are delicious. They taste like Funfetti cake. They're really good, and they're really easy. But the dough is the stickiest stuff ever.
That's it.
So yeah, 2020, I mean, it was a year, that's for sure. Probably the equivalent of about 3 years is what it felt like. But, I mean, it's crazy to think about how much was happening in 2020. Tiger King happened. It feels like so long ago.
Love is Blind happened.
Oh, I even forgot. I only caught bits and pieces of that because it's just straight up trash. But I had to watch some of it to understand the memes. There were so many memes about that girl that was older and the younger guy and everything. Yeah. I had to understand that. She's been really watching Dexter for the first time. Like, you've seen bits and pieces, but really been kind of watching that for the first time. I mean, 2020 has really been the year of streaming and watching a lot of stuff. I've rewatched The West Wing. I love The West Wing.
I know Queen's Gambit is
we still haven't watched that.
We haven't watched that. I want to just restart The Crown because
I've never seen it.
I've also lost like 2 or 3 seasons I haven't watched. So,
what did you think of 2020?
Would not recommend. But outside of that.
Besides that, what did you do? Besides, what did you watch? What did you do? Anything interesting happen? Did you find things were similar or different? from what we talked about.
Subscribe. We're almost to 100 people.
That would be cool.
That would be the coolest, actually.
You know, it doesn't really hurt you to subscribe, right? You could subscribe, and you don't have to turn on the notifications if you don't want to. I mean, I would recommend it so that you know when we have new cool videos. But if you don't want to, that's fine. Just hit that subscribe button anyway. Bye, 2020.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Don't let the door hit your butt on the way out.